insurers being a commercial organization. They are not in charity. So they wouldn't be making a loss. The insurers are only making, on average, 2%
Really?
of profit margin. If the market structure allows the government or whoever have bigger leverage on these providers and bring the margin down to a more reasonable level, that could be one way.
For MediShield Life, the expected increase is capped 35% and spread over 3 years. The government has also gave subsidies as well as MediSave top-ups towards the older and lower income group to make it more affordable. The highest plan, the lifetime premium, which is from year 1 to year 100, plus the rider, plus MediShield Life, is about $900,000. Almost hitting $1 million.
The point about the lifetime premium, right? If you were to buy a private plan, let's say if you're 40 years old today and you think you will live until age 90, right? Based on that table, you can expect to pay $200,000. If you add a rider, that jumps to $400,000.
Hey Coconuts, I'm sure you're familiar with our friends World First. World First is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business growth worldwide. And yes, they have been fueling TFC. I've used it myself. So World First have allowed me to open up a multi-currency account at zero cost and no fees and no minimum balance needed. So they have a new product which I'll share with you more later in the podcast. Meanwhile, if you want to check them out, link is in the description below. And yeah, welcome back to the show. Let's roll. Welcome to Chills with TFC. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and I'm joined with my other co-host.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Not my favorite co-host. Everybody wants to say that they are my favorite co-host, but yes, Dave, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm the blogger from Minimalist in the City. I blog about personal finance and minimalism.
So has minimalism changed?
Minimalism has already been ingrained in my life.
Okay, now we've done many episodes, let's not go there, but many things have changed,
Yes.
right? Especially in the insurance space, right? So a lot of things are changing, and I'm joined with two friends of the show, Eddy and Alex. So for our audience that don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Eddy Cheong, CEO of Haven. Haven is a trusted insurance specialist providing a safe place for people to seek unbiased and non-conflicted insurance advice.
In what sense are you trusted? You're quite new, right? Is it fair to say it's a spin-off from Provident?
Yes, it's
right. Chris's team tried to do this many times already, right? So,
yes.
So what are you trying to do this round?
Yes, we are fairly new, started in 2023, but we have years of legacy in terms of our planning philosophy. 20 over years of planning. From the response of our clients who wrote in to us, compliment us in the Google reviews, I can see that actually they're quite happy with the services that they're receiving from Haven.
So how are you all different from the rest then?
We believe insurance is a very important element for financial planning. I think everybody knows the importance of insurance. However, people are very wary of buying insurance because of fear of missold, oversold.
Yes, because price
sold.
keep changing, right?
Because of the conflict of interest in insurance sales, there's commissions, there is this conflict of interest. So at Haven, when we launch, our vision is to make it a safe place for people to seek advice. So we look into what are these conflict of interest. We put in 5 control measures pertaining to how the advisors are being compensated. They are salaried. They don't take commissions. We are very transparent in our compensation. We are transparent in our philosophy, and we have a clear and institutional approach. So every advice that our clients comes to us, they are consistent. It's not depending on the advisor. All right. And last but not least, we put our money where our mouth is. We offer this money back guarantee. If we are found to have oversold, we will return the premiums to the clients.
I think only the money back guarantee is the keyword. In front got trusted, everything's yeah.
All this, the 5 control measures are the back end. The back end need to be supported. But realize that most people don't understand the back end.
Yeah.
So we put in the front line, the money back guarantee.
Okay.
To show our commitment.
Yes, and Alex, for our audience that don't know you.
Hello, I'm Alex Lee, a freelance actuarial consultant. I'm also the current president of the Singapore Actuarial Society.
So what do y'all do at for our audience that, I'm sure some people know, but yeah.
Most people would associate actuaries to insurance companies. So indeed, a lot of our members do work for insurance companies, setting the price of your premium.
You see, they are the ones.
Yes, contribute a bit to that.
Contribute to it, yes.
Right. And after we collect the premiums, we determine how much reserve to set such that we will have enough money to pay the claims when it arises. But I think many of our members are also branching out outside of insurance. Some of them are in banking, investment management. Some of our members are working for your Grab and Shopee running their insurance program. And we even have actuaries who is in charge of, let's say, Cathay Pacific's loyalty program using our quant skills and managing how financial outcome merges with people's behavior.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's why you're here. Later we'll talk a little bit more. But today's episode is exactly about insurance, right? Because insurance is keep moving up, keep changing, keep increasing, right? So it feels like it's getting impossible to do any form of planning or projection, right? So I think that's kind of where people are. And I think recently there's been some updates and changes to MediShield, right? So yeah, just to kick our audience off, maybe help us lay the ground. What are some of these changes that happen in the insurance market?
Last year there was announcements from the MediShield Life review, and there was a series of recommendations. These recommendations will take in place 1st April 2025. So the whole idea is to make MediShield Life be able to take care of 9 out of 10 subsidized wards in full. So what it means is that when a person goes to a subsidized ward, 9 out of 10 patients will have their medical bills paid in full, either through cash or through MediSave. Over the years, because of medical inflation, the number has dropped from 9 to 8. So this review basically looks into resizing it in a way whereby we can actually meet the original intention of the MediShield Life. So with that, there are a few changes. Firstly, there will be changes in the limits of room and board and a series of stuff. There's also increase of annual limits from policy year of 150 to 200,000. So you can see that actually MediShield is taking care of the bigger ticket items. In line with that, there are also other new benefits that put in to this plan. The extension of benefits to out-of-hospital benefits, outpatient care in the community or home setting, and so take care of keeping abreast with the medical advancements in treatments such as high-cost drugs as well as gene cell therapy products. Yeah, these are advancements in medical science, and this MediShield actually incorporates some of these benefits into the plan.
So talking about medical inflation, right? It's like I believe there is a medical inflation monitoring across the world. So I recently read some articles that why is the medical inflation is much higher in Asia Pacific as compared to like in Europe or any other place.
Okay, to be fair, just lay the ground, right? It's a relatively sensitive topic because everybody is kind of like friends with everybody, right? So as much as we all want to be objective and talk about the thing, we all know we are kind of like friends with everyone. So just to lay the ground, okay, we will do our best to share with you everything that we can and we understand, okay? Yes, please, Alec.
Well, I think there are a few components to the medical expense, right? So first, you can look at staff cost, right? It will be your cost of your doctors and nurses, right? So as the demand for their service increases when the population ages, and that aging phenomenon is not just in Singapore but across the world, everyone is competing to retain their medical staff, right? So naturally, the salaries will get bidded up. Otherwise, we won't have enough medical professionals to serve our aging population. Right, so naturally that is one component. The other component would be drug costs, and that is the one that is a bit harder to manage, because a lot of the times the drug price negotiation is quite similar to the broadcast rights of your World Cup. Right, it depends on which country you come from. They feel that you can afford it, and they will charge you that price. So that is a victim of our own success as an economy because we are a wealthy economy. So naturally, we pay higher price for the same drug. So that becomes harder to manage.
Previously, we had a list, right? We had a cancer drug list that came not too long ago only to try to manage this thing.
Controls the price you pay if you are using the public system or using CPF-funded insurance plan. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the pharma companies, right, they often say that, okay, if I cannot get that price, maybe it's not so economical for me to offer that drug to this country. So it becomes an access issue. And once people read from the internet that this drug can do miracle, and the pressure to offer it in Singapore is real.
But it's also been reported that because of the control in the cancer drug list, the prices that pharma companies are charging has come down. Because if they are priced out of the market, they couldn't be claimed under the shield plan. Yeah, so that is a good thing.
What other ways are we looking at in managing this cost, right? Because if not, it's a one-way ticket, right? It just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. So, like, what are some strategies that you think can happen, or what are some pockets, of things that we can play around with? Or maybe you can share with us how are these things priced, in totality?
The integrated shield plan, which is the private plan for the hospital coverage, people who are staying as a private patient, basically means in structured hospital, B1 ward, A ward, private hospitals. These are called the private patients. Over the years, the IP plans, integration plans has evolved. Okay, in the good old days, like 20 years ago, when you look at the integrated shield plans, the benefits are very clearly spelled out. Room and board, there's a fixed amount. Okay, surgery fixed, there's a table of charges. All right, then because of competition, sometime I think in 2007 or so, okay, insurance companies start to incorporate what you call the as-charged features. These as-charged features is meant to compete against each other. Okay, it basically means that if you buy your plan, you have limits that reduce your coverage. You buy my plan, it's as-charged. That means there's no limit. Okay, except to the as high as the annual limit, which right now is about 1.5 million. Okay, that kind of skill. Because of this competition, it creates this syndrome of we call this the buffet syndrome. Okay, right? Buffet syndrome. So you are familiar with buffet, right?
Yeah,
we go
yeah,
in, actually we don't intend to eat so much, but because you've paid already, So yeah, it causes buffet syndrome, over consumption of medical services. Then there's also incidents of the medical profession, over treating, or giving more options to be treated. And all this arises because of how the current plan is being designed. Is over generous.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, in fact, the buffet analogy can be extended even further, right? This buffet is different from other buffet where you pay first, you queue outside, right? And then the restaurant owner or someone would randomly draw lots on who get to eat first, right? And if the people in front of you eat a lot, for you to continue to stay in the queue, the provider have to balance the book and probably charge you more. So the thing is, while many people see the interaction with the insurer as a win-lose relationship, right? As let's say F&B owner and a customer relationship, a lot of the times, a lot of these premium changes is actually we're doing it to each other. It's like climate change. We're responsible for the behavior of the other policyholders.
Can you expand that discussion a little bit, right? How is someone, let's say if Dave eats a lot of the buffet, like use a lot of the insurance premiums, how does it affect me as a person?
Let's start with insurers being a commercial organization. They are not in charity. So they wouldn't be making a loss.
I know, although their ads are very touchy-feely, but yes.
Yeah. In fact, today, the insurers are only making, on average, 2% of profit margin, just barely enough to recover the cost of the capital.
Does it include the investments that they make on the side?
No, excluding the investment.
So excludes that. So it's just running this integrated shield plans, they only make about 2%.
Yeah, but with most of the cost, like 98% of the premium going out, there's not much assets to be invested when you collect the premium. It's also because it's annual premium, you don't have a huge runway to build up investment returns. So that's why you can sort of ignore the investment component for this particular product type.
Okay.
The insurer is only making 2% margins. Whenever the cost of claims and all these goes up, then to balance the books, the price just have to rise, right? So if the person in front of you have eaten too much, then the next iteration when they reprice, then they have no choice but to restore their profit back to the very meager profit margin.
And I also heard that some of the insurers are not making profits. on some years.
So
Some
the
are
2% is for
losing
the
money. Yeah.
average of the across all IP insurers. Some are making a bit more, some are loss making. It's not lucrative at all. Yeah,
I think they've started using it as a customer acquisition strategy.
some do.
Right,
Yes.
It's a loss leader.
Yeah, it's a loss leader. You bring in, I feel I build trust with this brand. Then eventually they will sell you the higher margin products, and then kind of go from there. Is that kind of how the industry has moved?
Actually, currently we have 7 IP providers chasing after a small market of maybe Singapore plus PR about 4 million people. The older players or the more aggressive players actually win the market share. A lot of small players are struggling to make profits and to maintaining their costs.
Actually, can you help us break down like why is it 98% is cost? Right, because the customers don't care. Customer only care like, wow, you keep raising my price.
Yeah.
Right? But since we are here, give us some color. Like, what's so difficult? Like, why is it running at such a structure?
So we've done a study based on the returns that the IP insurers have filed with MAS between the period of 2014 and 2023, the 10 years, right? Every $1 of private health insurance premium that's given to the insurers, 78 cents goes to paying claims.
78 cents.
78 cents go to paying claims. Some may say it's a reasonable level. Other may benchmark it to, for example, Obamacare, who target at 85. 12% goes to distribution costs.
Distribution costs.
Yeah, so commissions, conventions, and things like that. The insurance company, their running costs, their staff costs, system costs, all those only account for 8 cents to $1.
Okay.
So that's the structure, right? And just now we were talking about salary costs. You can sort of benchmark against, let's say, MOM stats or whatnot, right? The distribution cost component is a bit curious because commission is always stated as a percentage of premium. So as and when there's drug price inflation, hospital charges inflation, and things like that, the commission in dollar terms will also naturally goes up. That is the part that is harder to control also.
Just to help us lay the ground before we move forward into the other part of the discussion, which is what you can do about it, So like if the structure is every dollar, 8 cents go to the insurance company managing whatever it is. So they will just manage it like a business, right? Pretty much. However, you can cut costs, that's up to you, right? And then 78 cents goes to claims, which is essentially enters the quote-unquote medical system, right? Whatever things that people use over there. And then 12% is in the distribution, which is commission and all those things, right? Is there any place that we can kind of engineer some sort of a cost saving for the population? Or like is the 12% the most ambiguous part?
There are two things. First, I think for the medical cost perspective, right, we can sort of compare the profit margin of the different stakeholders involved, right? Just now we're talking about insurance company only making 2% margin. If you look at the major hospital groups or pharma companies, they are running around 8 to 10%, right? So
it's true, they're
maybe
doing very well. Yeah, they should sponsor us.
Yeah, if the market structure allows the, let's say, government or whoever have bigger leverage on these providers and bring the margin down to a more reasonable level, that could be one way.
I personally felt that the medical inflation, I'm not sure how they actually gauge this medical inflation, but in terms of like private hospitals, right, it felt like the inflation is going much faster, which everyone felt it. But then when recently, I few years back, I went for my ACL surgery. With the same surgery code, my client actually went for the same surgery. Then I look at the hospital, the surgical theatre, the cost more or less is the same. But then the doctor's fees and the rest of the services is much elevated. But it's the same surgery code. But why does the price difference is so much? It's almost double. Yeah, it's like I did it for like 20,000, and then this client of mine, the doctor charged him 40,000 for exactly the same surgery. So how do we actually do some control mechanism to make sure that it's not overpriced?
I think I don't have access to a lot of publicly available information in relating to Singapore.
Yeah.
But I think in Malaysia, they're also facing a huge stress when the medical inflation is also driving up the insurance price. And according to a press report, I think Ben Negara was saying that they discover cases where when the patients are under letters of guarantees, therefore they're having a cashless experience. For the same procedure, the hospitals are billing them double to another customer who are paying on their own first and claiming back from the insurance companies. I don't know whether is it happening in Singapore or not. I don't have the stats, right? But hopefully not.
So my client actually got to kind of like claim from a company first, then the rest got to claim from the shield plan.
This is very difficult. This is very difficult situation to address because when you pay for a doctor, you pay for the experience, you pay for many things. And some of these things are very qualitative. Right, it's not like a price list, okay? But I think insurance company is trying to address this situation in another way, all right? So over the years, we have things like panel doctors, right? So the panel doctors, basically, there are some internal negotiation as to for certain treatment, what is the price range that you can charge. Okay, if policyholders were to use a panel doctors, there are some preferential treatment in terms of the benefits. Okay, but if you go to outside the panel doctors, then there'll be, in a way, you do bear more of the claims. For example, you need to bear, for example, extra deductibles, reduction in the benefits and stuff like that. So this is one way the insurance company is trying to address the situation of controlling costs, managing costs. Yeah.
In the start of the episode, we talked a little bit about what has changed to MediShield, right? So has there been ripple effects in integrated shield plans? Like what are you looking at over the course of the past few years?
Right now, the focus point is on the MediShield Life premiums. Okay, the premium has gone up for MediShield Life. Okay, because of all this enlargement of the benefits to make such that 9 out of 10 subsidized patients are fully payable. Okay, it's fully claimable. Okay, so what this means is that the coverage has gone up, and therefore premiums has to increase also. So for MediShield Life, the expected increase is capped 35% and spread over 3 years. The government has also gave subsidies as well as MediSave top-ups, so that and more towards the older and the lower income group. Okay, more subsidies to it to make it more affordable. The focus point is on MediShield Life. In fact, the integrated shield plan, there's not much news about that. I mean, there's not much enhancement on. Usually, there's an announcement. If there's a changes in MediShield Life, there's an announcement IP. And actually, this time around, there's not much of enhancement. But I do notice that there are some price increases on IP plans. I can attribute to a few reasons. Firstly, even without all these MediShield Life changes, medical inflation has been on the rise, okay, and therefore every 2 years or so, every insurance company will just increase the premiums, right? That's number one. And number two is that the design of the MediShield Life is one of the objectives is to reduce cross-subsidization to non-subsidized patients. This simply means is that because MediShield Life and integration plans stacked together, whenever there's a claim for let's say a B1 ward private hospital, all right, the insurance company will actually co-share the claims with the MediShield Life. Okay, this co-sharing has reduced from 1st April onwards. Okay, so for example, it's a C ward patient. All right, the proration has reduced from I think 25% to 16%. So what this means is these are simple terms. Today, if let's say the cataract surgery is $1,000 in the B2C ward. Okay, and if let's say you go to a private hospital, let's say 10,000. Let's say I don't have the exact number. Let's say 10,000. In the past, the proration is 25%. That means if you go for a private treatment, the MediShield Life you use the 10,000 and prorate 25%. So 25,000, 2,005. So this 2,005 will be claimable under MediShield Life. Okay, but the same treatment cost could be cost maybe $1,000 because you're subsidizing people who go private and to claim on MediShield Life. So now the proration has dropped from 25 to 16% to make it more even. Okay, yeah. So what it means is that now the burden of claims falls more on the IP plans. So with this fall, I do see that it will result to more claims, and therefore premiums over time will also increase proportionally.
Hey Coconuts, I'm very excited to introduce you to the latest offerings from World First. World First is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business worldwide. Their latest product, the World Card, is a multi-currency business card that allows you to get unlimited 1.2% cashback on all your business spend. If you use it on Meta Ads, Google Ads, ChatGPT, Salesforce, and more, you get additional benefits. Of course, subjected to change, terms and conditions apply. But more importantly, if today you are looking to start your business, whether it's in retail, e-commerce, or B2C, World First is your partner. Check them out, link in the description below, and back to the show. Not difficult, right? Put 2 and 2 together, right? There's a reduction in what is claimable from MediShield, and then it's only running at 2%, profit margin at this point in time. So, very good chance it will push up, and then we will kena again.
Yes.
But still, I think this correction of the proration factor is the right thing to do because there are quite a lot of the population who relies only on MediShield Life, right? And if the proration factor is not corrected, they end up paying higher premium to subsidize those who choose and can afford to go to higher wards, which is in the reverse direction of usual usual mechanics of social justice, right?
Which is what you say, the buffet, the analogy, right? So someone is subsidizing unnecessarily to the other that wants to, have the premier experience.
And you can't ask the poorer ones to subsidize the richer ones. Doesn't make sense, right?
So if the general direction is one way, price keeps going up, and what can I do about it? What are my options? How can I think about this? I think there are a few tangents around this, right? So how you look at insurance is one thing, how does it fit into your overall strategy is another thing, and then are there practical?
From my experience also as we deal, because we also have clients who wrote in once a while, whenever they receive the annual review, right, annual renewal notice, they say, wow, so much increase,
Did they key?
So we do have a hard time trying to explain to them. It's very hard to explain. Firstly, MOH has some statistics to show that actually from 2021 to 2023, okay, people has been giving up the top tier private IP plans. Okay, about 5% has given up. Okay, from 2020 to 2023, all right, about 2.2% of population above 60 years old has given the IP totally. Okay, so I think it is fair to say that actually as premium goes up, people are rationalizing, okay, whether do they need the IP plans.
Yeah.
And more so for those who are 50, 60 years old, where they probably retiring, they probably have retired, no income, they are looking at how do they make sense of all these IP plans. So from a planning standpoint, we have a few cardinal principles to help them. Firstly, we'll spend time to help them understand what is really their healthcare expectations. What do you really want in the event of a medical treatment? Okay, do you want to have privacy in a room? Access, shorter waiting time, air condition, amenities, choice of doctors. So if you want to have all this, then really you need the IP plans. Okay, but otherwise you have to fork out a lot in event hospital. If you are the kind, regardless of income, the kind that actually very happy with B2C ward. There are people who are like that. Okay, then I think MediShield Life is good enough. There's no need to buy IP plans just for the sense of security that, I think I better have one, because I never know. Okay, so firstly, understand what is your expectations. Okay, everybody is different. And secondly, what is the affordability? Can you afford it? Because when you talk about IP plans, you're not just talking about the main plan. There's also the riders. Do you need riders is a separate topic. There's another topic on that. Do you need riders? And riders are very expensive. You'd be surprised that the riders, the intention of riders is to cover 5% of the overall bill, right? The main plan covers 90%, up to 90%. The riders cover 5%, up to 5%. But the 5% cover can cost more than 90% premiums of the main plan.
So objectively, it's not good to get a rider?
There are reasons why you may want to consider a rider. Riders have a few benefits. Firstly, it result in low out-of-pocket, the 5%, the deductibles. And secondly, it also provides these extra benefits for cancer treatment. Remember, we have a reduction in cancer treatment in the main plan, okay, last few years, all right? So the riders actually pick up whatever that the main plan cannot cover. Okay, so some people actually buy the rider for the extra cancer cover. But if I were to assess the situation, I would think that if you are buying a government hospital plans, okay, A ward, B1 ward, I think the riders may be less essential because firstly, the government hospitals control the drug costs quite well. Okay, it's not so. But if you are looking for a private hospital coverage, I think some form of rider will be necessary because the cancer coverage in the rider will help you to cushion the cancer treatment costs in private hospitals.
I also felt that, like for my kids, renew their riders. So they are age 11 and 8 this year. So their rider is about $900 already, which is not something that we've seen it during our time when we were at their age. So I'm not sure, like the deciding factor is also not very sure because you can't really ask your kid. Well, I mean, as long as the parents can afford, then we'll try to pay for it. But then what are the considerations like for kids? If people that are already struggling with, how do they manage this cost?
So I gave expectations and costs as one of the guiding principles. Okay, there are also other nuances to it. So for example, if let's say for newborn, for those that are below, that is still not working, children under 21, 24, I think if the parents want to buy a higher plan for them, I think it's fine. A few reasons. Number one, it lock in insurability. Because insurance is, if there's a medical condition, cannot get covered anymore already. That's the thing that actually makes people want to buy insurance because they are not sure. Okay. Secondly, because they are young, I think it's still manageable. So some of the people that I talk to is say, okay, when you're young children, you just get what you can afford. What is best for them, I mean, within your affordability. And then when they start working, right, 21 to, you pass over to them, then they decide. Okay, but you give them that they have a way to decide whether to downgrade or not or continue. All right, because health is no longer an issue for them. I mean, they are recovered already. That would be my advice for them. But for those who are older, 50 plus, 60 plus, they really have to be look long and hard whether can they afford it in the next 20 years or not. If not, maybe they should just downgrade progressively.
I read some articles like talking about the premium throughout the lifetime, right? It's almost like 250,000 to 300,000.
Oh.
Yeah. So from that numbers, right, without the articles, you can't really visualize it that much. But then when you rack it up across a lifetime, right, you just feel like, wow, that's a lot of money to...
That is not the highest plan.
That's not the highest
plan, the lifetime premium, which is from year 1 to year 100.
Yeah.
Plus a rider, plus MediShield Life. Okay, the highest plan is about $900,000, almost hitting $1 million.
This is inclusive of MediSave.
MediSave,
right?
yes.
Yeah. Wow,
It's
that's
crazy.
a lot, man.
I think I would like to bring to the point about lifetime premium, right? So I did some calculation using one of the IP insurers premium table this morning, right? If you were to buy a private plan, let's say if you're 40 years old today and you think you will live until age 90, right? Based on that table, you can expect to pay 200,000, right? If you add a rider, that jumps to 400,000.
Wow.
Right. But if you are planning your finances based on this number, that may actually not be right. That 200 or 400,000 is only valid if you today ring fence that 240 to 400,000 and then be able to grow that money at the same rate as medical inflation. If you cannot, then actually, if you don't have that much to set aside in the first place, then you probably should look at the total after accounting for inflation. So for example, just now I talked about if you don't add the rider, it's 200,000 from age 40 to age 90. If you add 4% inflation per annum, the total jumps to 870,000. That's more than 4x. So in the with rider scenario, it jumps from 400,000 to almost 1.7 million. So the question is, now, do you think you can really afford? So just now you mentioned that your situation, I'm guessing that when you think whether you can afford your whole family's plan, you're looking at your income today versus the bill you see today. But in the long run, can your whole family sustain the A plan?
And all these numbers is actually based on the price today.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, you're not even factoring the potential increase along the way.
So with just a 4% increase, you are already talking about 4x, more than 4x between age 40 to age 90.
Wow, it's getting out of
How
hand.
is this thing gonna square?
The other way is that if you think you have good financial advisor that can allow you to grow your wealth faster than that inflation, then you may want to buy a cheaper plan, save that money, and then grow the wealth to ensure that you can sustain the plan you have chosen for a long term instead of being forced to downgrade when you're old, because you have already run out of that financial resource.
But certainly, I think this trajectory shouldn't let it run this way. Okay, because otherwise, I think nobody will go to private hospitals except the super rich or A ward. All were just converge to B2C ward. But then the question is that do we have enough B2C ward to serve that 4 million population, right? I think more must be done on the design of the plan to make it more realistic. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense in financial planning.
Yeah, because medical inflation is like average, like projected to be 12% next year, this year. So I was wondering,
you
based on the
outstrip
point
from
of
an investment standpoint.
Even
Your
your
capital size to begin with must be much bigger.
Yeah, correct.
To then make up
To
for
even
absolute
outstrip that,
difference.
right?
Yeah.
So it's-
I wouldn't say that it has to swing all the way to B2 and C ward, because in the example that I've just given, if you move down to the A ward plan, that means the restructured hospital A ward plan, you already save 20-30% in premium. So while it may require a bigger public or restructured hospital capacity, but as far as ward class is concern, it doesn't have to swing all the way to. It could you could just expand the, let's say, B1 and A ward capacity.
Help me understand a little bit, right? When we talk about MediShield and Integrated Shield, it's always the wards, that's used as a very clear distinction between like, okay, you want to use this ward, you got to have these plans,
right.
If not, then you're out of pocket. It's very serious, right? But is it just the wards? What is the kind of other things that you lose? If let's say today, okay, I cannot keep up with this, I'm just going to do a pure MediShield Life platform for myself, what am I giving up?
I think as a Singaporean or as a PR in Singapore, I think we have a lot to thank the Ministry of Health for.
Now then you thank the ministry.
Okay. Because, the reason why I say that because...
But there has been a lot of changes,
Because those days, many years ago, MediShield Life is not as what it is now. It's not a universal plan, okay? It only covers people who are eligible to cover. Okay, if let's say the person is not healthy, it will be excluded from MediShield Life. Okay, but because MediShield Life have gone from that to a universal plan, okay, it covers all the way as long as you live. All right. In the past was only 85 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, and in those days, in those era, you really need a private plan to support it because there are a lot of gaps. Okay, so MediShield Life has evolved. It has become a universal plan. It covers regardless of your age, regardless of illnesses. So what it means is that for Singaporeans and PRs here, we have access to basic healthcare. If there's a medical to be treated, there is a hospital, there is a plan for you to be treated. All right. So in a way, that is a good thing. Okay. But because it's a public good, because it's a shared resources, what you are giving up is basically privacy. Instead of having that one or 2% in a room, you probably share maybe 6%, maybe no aircon. Okay, but I understand nowadays, even subsidized wards have aircon already. Right. It becomes a human nature to have some aircon. You probably have to have longer waiting time. You want to see a doctor, maybe I wait 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, depend on the kind of conditions. Available doctors, you wait a few months, 3 months, 6 months or so. And you can choose your doctors. It's a team-based approach. Every day you see a different doctor, a different team coming to see you, okay? So if you're okay with that, then that's fine. MediShield Life is really fine. But some people, they want something faster. I remember when I was rotator cuff issue, I need to see a doctor. I was trying to consider the subsidized route, but that one will wait a few months, okay? So I text my private doctor. The doctor said, tomorrow, please come and see me. Okay, and then within a week, I get it treated. Surgery, arranged TOT, surgery, and out, and fine. So for those who want that speed, the convenience, the option, the convenience, the choice of doctors, I think IP comes in. But it comes with a price. So you need to really weigh cost benefits.
So that's still the main thing, essentially, some of these features. Okay, so it does not fundamentally affect the quality of the healthcare in itself. Would you argue that?
I mean, some would say yes.
It's
yes
the same
and no.
medicine, it's the same treatment, just that you got to wait longer, the environment not so nice. Is that kind of the layman's way of looking at it, or how would you say?
Kind of. Okay, but
some people may argue that by waiting a few more weeks longer, it will have deteriorate out of control.
Yeah. That's what I heard from doctors. Yeah, if you wait 3 months, actually the treatment is very simple. But now, because after 3 months, I need to have a more complicated surgery. Yeah.
Or maybe some cancers may be more aggressive.
Oh, yes.
3 weeks could mean a lot.
That's right. Time-sensitive treatment. That's the reason why people buy IP, because they're just afraid in a very crucial situation. Do I have access? If I don't buy the IP, I don't have access.
But is this fear statistically accurate? You know what I mean? Like in terms of like, if we try to reconcile that uncertainty of like, if I wait, then there's the marginal increase in the kind of impact and the medical facility that I need to have, yeah.
There are some statistics. MOH has these statistics whereby it's very interesting. I think it was 2020 to 2022 or something like that. It's about during the COVID years. Okay, what happened is that 57 people, for those who buy an IP plan, okay, 57 or so, more than 50% of the time people go for B2C ward, the subsidized ward. So more than half actually don't use, they're okay with B2C ward. I'm not sure because of COVID period, but it suggests that actually people tend to overbuy. Perhaps is that final critical illness towards the end of life that maybe you want to go for the private. Okay, when all treatments fail, you want to have option. But to have the option is costly.
But the flip side of that story is if everyone who bought the private hospital plan actually go to private hospital, the premium would not be at this level today. People would be screaming even a lot more now.
Back to the same buffet mechanics, right? Somebody eat a lot more, you have to make up for the difference, right?
In fact, there may not even be that much bed capacity to swing everyone who were voluntarily downgrading their ward.
The buffet shop had to close. So, okay.
Actually, that could be a good reason. I think the buffet, if we remove the buffet ticket, maybe things will become more normalized.
Yeah, so maybe in closing, right, we have went on an extended discussion on why things are priced this way, right? The mechanics of it, right? Which I think is quite enlightening for the day-to-day audience, because most people just think like, oh, what you can go, so it's quite, and then what price, right? Usually that's kind of where the discussion ends. So I'm very glad that we had this overall discussion around like what actually goes into these things and what affects the prices. But ultimately, the question is still like, then what can I do about it, right? What can I plan? So I think Alex said a little bit, in front, which has some sort of an investment component, hoping to outrun the premium, right? But they also say the premium run very fast, right? Yeah. So like maybe anything that you
fact,
from your point of
view, even after you do have that money, ring fence that for your future insurance premium is what is left enough to fulfill your other financial objective, your travel, your whatever, right? It may not be anymore.
And that is going to be set aside separately from.
Maybe you really cannot afford this plan. You may want to downgrade upfront already.
As a consumer, we really need to understand what do you really need for healthcare. Okay, what are some options that are available, and are you okay with the MediShield Life coverage? If okay, you can just forget about IP plans. Stick with MediShield Life. It will remain affordable. Okay, government will be committed to make it affordable.
Of course,
okay?
Of course.
But if you want extra benefits, then you have to weigh between cost benefits. Okay, are you able to afford it in the next 20 years or so? If you can, good. If not, then you may have to downgrade progressively. Even if you can, you need to factor that into your retirement fund.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Grow in whatever ways, so that when you retire, right, you have the resources to meet your expectations.
Because I got some old clients that doesn't have the IP plans.
Yeah.
So they are in their 60s already. So they can't even get it. So the only way to kind of like set aside that fund, right? They kind of like, they don't spend like too much on housing. So they have enough OA to kind of like set aside for this. If not, I think it will be quite challenging if they are going to don't have this IP plan and then they don't have these funds also. They overspend on housing or something like that. So that will become a whole conundrum of
it's a big
other problems. Correct.
I can already see the conundrum snowball in 30 years.
Yeah, it's not just so simple as just a healthcare thing. It's going to be taken account,
your house,
your retirement, the whole thing. Yeah. But it's always being seen as a short-term thing. It's like every year you just pay one premium. People don't really look at it in totality.
You're actually spending a few $100,000 on this thing.
That's a lot to consider actually.
Okay. Although sounds very depressing, but in closing, I think the beauty is in that clarity, right? After this episode, you get some idea of what's going on. So that is a great upside, because now you cannot unsee it, you can do something about it, right? Rather than you're down there, set, and then at the end it affects you, right? So we hope you learn something. We hope you pick up some stuff and factors that into your plan and strategy. If you have any question, put in the comment section. If the comment section blows up, right, we'll do another one that just targets the comment section questions itself. Which word? Yeah. And the minister can come, right? Yes. So with that, thank you for your time. Thank you for co-hosting with me. So yes, if you like what we do and you want to stay updated with the Financial Coconut, you can just go to thefinancialcoconut.com, put your email there. We'll update you on the latest podcast coming up, the latest live events, and all the good stuff that we're doing. Meanwhile, I hope you enjoy your episode today, and we'll see you in the next episode. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.